from Reason Alliance Media. This is Season 1, Episode 2, Deconversion Therapy. On today's episode, we have Part 2 of the Women's March, where we talk with more abortions about the march in Alabama, as well as a call to action. Then I speak with author Karen Garst. Then we have Bella Constrictor's Hisses and Kisses. Then we have our current events segment, 2 Trumps and a Puppy, and a PSA about calling your representatives. I'm Miss Behaven. Stay tuned.
Where's the best place to meet your online friends? Where's the best party where the fun never ends? Where will Bobby Carey be our MC too? I bet you'd go if you only knew. It's ReasonCon, it's ReasonCon in Hickory, North Carolina. It's ReasonCon, it's ReasonCon, and the speakers couldn't be finer. We've got Matt Dillahunty and Aaron Ra, Callie Wright and Lawrence Krauss. We've got god-awful movies coming to you live, and Jim Craig and Shelley Siegel really jive. It's ReasonCon, it's ReasonCon. Meet the people in your favorite podcasts. It's ReasonCon, it's ReasonCon, the conference where you'll have a blast.
All right, we're here for part 2 of the discussion about the Women's March, women's marches that were all over the United States and all over the world on January 21st, 2017, in response to the inauguration of the 45th President of the United States. We have with us Miss Anthrope, who was at the DC March, and also we have More Abortions, who was at the Montgomery, Alabama March. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. There wasn't one in Montgomery, Alabama. There was one in Birmingham.
I got it wrong.
So yeah, they didn't do one here. I don't know why. I guess I could have hosted one, but like, who has time for that?
Yeah. So how'd it go? What was the experience like there?
It was awesome. I got there like right as they were kind of wrapping up the rally portion of it and starting to march. And people were chanting and waving their signs around. And I saw a lot of people who ran over to me and said like they've seen my posts on Facebook and they know me from Facebook, and I have no idea who they are. But I think that's to be expected when you post a lot of things publicly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really nice. Like I'm glad that, when I'm
internet famous,
all of these, yeah, right. Like I'm making all these posts that I think like I hope someone's listening out there, and somebody is somewhere. So that was cool. But yeah, it was really a great experience, and there were. So my partner was there with me, and there was a guy marching sort of close to us who started when we were chanting "My Body, My Choice." This other guy and my partner started chanting "Your Choice," and I don't know why that moved me so much, but it was great to see guys in the crowd who were
solidarity,
affirming, and just there for, not there to take over the story, just to be there and support and echo what we were trying to express. And so that was awesome. And there was another moment. There was a woman who had a huge sign on like a 6-foot plank that she was toting around, and it said, "My rape started when my rapist grabbed my pussy." Oh, and I came over and I hugged her, and I was like, "Can I take a picture with you? Thank you so much." But halfway through thanking her, I got choked up and I had to walk away, because that took guts. Yeah. I know a lot of people who wouldn't even tell their rape story to their close friends, and this person put it on a fucking sign and was just marching around downtown Birmingham in a red state just to get the message out there that it's not okay. It's not okay to say that you can do whatever you want, or you think you can do whatever you want, to the women around you. So that was really, really powerful. And then afterward, we got pizza and wine, and that was one of the good parts of it, because marching makes me hungry. Everything makes me hungry. So
understandable. I was going to ask you if there was a favorite sign, but I would assume that was it.
Yeah, that probably was it. there was another couple there that had matching signs that said "Vulva La Revolution," and that one was really cool. But
That's cute.
yeah, so I want that on a T-shirt or
That's great.
something. Just if anyone's listening. Yeah,
I'll
it
make
was really
t-shirts.
awesome. And I think for those of us who live in really, really conservative areas, it's so much more powerful to realize and to recognize that, like when I go to local things like this, I'm not the only person who lives here who is kind of hiding out.
Mhm.
There are a lot of people who are not out. I mean, like, you have to come out of the closet as a person who believes that women deserve equal rights and opportunities. But
Yeah.
that's what you have to do here. There are actually people in Alabama that actively pursue this narrative of, you know, the man is in charge of things, and I'm only here to make sure that he doesn't go hungry. I mean, it's just so. It's unbelievable if you haven't been here to see it. But that was unbelievable to me, to see that there were that many people. I mean, I don't know what the final count was, but someone said there were 10,000 people there. I don't know. It was a really, really big crowd, and when you're in the middle of it, it's hard to see. But it was just amazing to see that there are that many people in this state and in my area who think the same way that I do and feel the same way I do about this. And so
Absolutely.
it's really powerful to see that.
I felt the same way when there were protests about Trump coming to my city. I was really proud of all the people who were protesting, including the bishop of the Lutheran church in the area was protesting and wrote a scathing Facebook post about hosting Trump at Lenoir Rhyne University. So it was very interesting. I was very proud of the people who came forward against having him here. So that was really interesting.
I do kind of get this this little tinge in the back of my mind of, like, where were all of these people last year, and why did they just now realize that this is a problem, when the things that are happening now were problems last year, and they were problems the year before last year. And so one of the things I've done here in Montgomery is a couple of friends and we started a chapter of Surge, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's showing up for racial justice.
Yeah, there's one in Asheville around here.
There's one
it's
in Winston-Salem as well.
Right. So it's the white allies to the movement for Black Lives, just in case anyone listening hasn't heard of it. But if you're looking for something that you can do to combat racism, that's one thing that white people can do. And so anyway, we just started this. Yeah, we just started this chapter, and it was really, really hard all last year to get people to come out and show up and do things. And then right after Election Day, people started messaging me and messaging the other two women who helped organize this. And it's just, it's like, thank you so much. I'm glad you're here. But where the fuck were you last year? Like, so we had this like sort of airing of grievances meeting where, like, we're going to unpack how we all feel. And someone said, I realized on Election Day that, this was a wake up call and such or something. And I said, I'm sorry, like, I have a grievance with that. Like, I really appreciate that you're here, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way. And I want you to keep coming to these, and I want you here. But I think that the wake up call for all of us should have been when police officers were getting away with murdering Black children. And oh my gosh, you could have heard a pin drop in the room. But I said, I have to say that. I feel like, and there's been a lot of criticism about the marches anyway, that they were largely white. And that, there were white women.
How many of those women voted for Trump? Right.
And there are white women who are coming to these things who either didn't vote at all, or like you said, maybe they voted for Trump, or they didn't support intersectional feminism, and they maybe still don't. And it's not about us, We've got to figure out what those who are suffering need, and let's take care of them before we get to our tiny inconveniences that we experience. So that's been a process, and it's been something that I'm kind of dealing with. Like, I feel like going to these rallies and stuff, it's great, and it makes me feel so validated, but that can't be all that we're doing. And we have to also realize that we're not the most affected by this. So
absolutely. And I've also been like trying to research ways that I can be helpful that are, I mean, there's the podcast, there's this is my trying to help in any way I can sort of thing. But I've been trying to find ways that I can be more helpful without physically going to wherever it is, because I've been dealing with health problems. So like writing letters to representatives and stuff like that, calling representatives has been a huge thing. And, despite Tillis and Burr not listening to a thing I say, I can still continue to write them and call them and bug the crap out of them until they start fucking listening. So, that's been
being annoying is like the best persuasion, I would say.
What was that?
So, I'm sorry, I think my mic is doing something weird. I said being annoying can be the best form of persuasion.
Yeah, the squeaky wheel thing.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
well, one thing that you can do from home, and actually anybody listening can do this, is so Alabama, the legislative session just started here last week. And so we have, I don't know why new bills aren't just by default scheduled for a public hearing, but they're not. So you have to go through what's been pre-filed. And the website in Alabama is the most ridiculously inefficient system on the planet. But anyway, you have to go through all of these bills and read the text for yourself. And then if you have an issue with it or you want to support it, either way, you have to request a hearing from the clerk that bill's committee, when it's assigned to a committee, the clerk for that committee is who you request a public hearing from. And it's 27 steps to get there. You have to find out what's been pre-filed, then you have to read all through it, and then you have to, because the description that they have on the website is usually not what it is. Like the Women's Health and Safety Act was actually an attempt to ban abortion. So,
there's all that kind of shit with like HB2 about being, the bathroom thing, but then also there was a part snuck in there about minimum wage not being able to increase ever. So yeah. So you have to keep up with what's coming out, and there's no way to set up like an RSS feed or anything on our website. I don't know how other states are, but it's super inefficient. So people who have access to the internet, who have any amount of free time that they're willing to devote to that sort of thing, get out there and read the bills and find out who's the clerk for which committees, which committee has the most atrocious shit coming through it, and then make friends with that committee clerk, because that's the person you're going to need to request all of these public hearings from. And you want to be able to get, so in Alabama, they'll put things out like 9 p.m. Monday night for hearings on Tuesday morning. And if you haven't requested a public hearing and they've already scheduled a regular committee meeting, then you can't request for it to be public. So it takes a lot of volunteers checking those websites constantly for updates. So that's one thing that, if you're not a picketer or you're not someone who feels comfortable speaking even at these public hearings, to be the person who can request them for those who can be there or who want to speak is really, really helpful. Awesome. Good to know. Looks like that's all the time we've got here, but thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. And I am sure we will have more about this in our comedy sketch called Call Your Representatives.
Absolutely.
Tired of bad news? We are too. Let's make some good news together. Promoting secular feminism is joining forces with Miss Andry's Bathhouse. We're two great feminist tastes that taste great together. With our powers combined, we are bringing you the love of intersectional feminist values and puns. Miss Andry started the company in November 2015 on a wing and a prayer and a handful of ridiculous puns. She runs the company from home in Charlotte, North Carolina with her partner, Mr. Andry, and their kid, Baby Andry. Miss Andry's main focus is on building a beauty company that is centered around body positivity and intersectional feminism. The goal is to build confidence and self-love instead of fixing flaws. Miss Andry's Bathhouse offers homemade bath, body, and beauty products. They use suppliers who are committed to fair trade and zero animal testing.
Miss Andrews' products cater to a variety of fandoms, including Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Bob's Burgers, Star Wars, and more. They also offer unscented versions of their products where possible. In my humble opinion, the best part of Miss Andrews' Bathhouse is the monthly beauty box. A variety of sample products, each with a fun theme. You can buy the beauty boxes one at a time or in a discounted 3-month subscription. Hint, hint, wink, wink, my birthday's coming up. The theme for March is the Spring Eco Box. Products in this box will be themed around rebirth and renewal. In this box, you'll find products inspired by nature and witchcraft meant to bring you new energy and strength as we move from the harsh cold winter into the sunlight once more. Pre-orders run from February 1st through 28th, and boxes ship March 1st. Your box price includes free U.S. shipping, and if you'd like, you can subscribe to the next 3 boxes, the Spring Eco Box, April, and May. And April's theme is birthday, and May is May the 4th be with you. So it'll be Star Wars themed. So you can subscribe to the next 3 boxes for a discounted price of $75, making each box just $25. Miss Andrews' Bathhouse. Miss Andrews is good for everybody. Find them at www.missandry.com. That's MSANDRY.com. Thanks to our partnership with Miss Andrews' Bathhouse, we are able to give you, our listeners, an exclusive promo code that will only be given out in the audio of this podcast. So if you're not a listener, you won't find this anywhere else. The promo code you should use is PSF10, as in PSF10, and that'll get you 10% off your order at missandry.com. All right, I'm here today with Karen Garst, author of the book Women Beyond Belief, Discovering Life Without Religion, also blogger at faithlessfeminist.com, and also a YouTuber. So, Karen, tell me a little bit about what inspired you to write this book.
Well, here I'm sitting in beautiful Oregon, retired. Spent the first 5 years of retirement doing my genealogy, which was a lot of fun.
Ooh.
And then in 2014, the United States Supreme Court issued its decision in Burwell v. Hobby Lobby. And if we go back a little, there was a Supreme Court decision called Citizens United, which more or less said corporations are people. Mm-hmm. So this Hobby Lobby decision built on that and said that, well, if corporations are people, then they can have religious views. Hobby Lobby had filed a complaint. It did not want to pay for certain forms of birth control under the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare.
Yeah.
And the court agreed with them and said, because of your religious views, you do not have to provide those. And I got very angry, needless to say. I came of age in the 60s and 70s. I consider myself a second-wave feminist, and I remember the time before birth control. Mm-hmm. I remember the time before abortion being legal. And in fact, when I was an undergraduate at a Lutheran college in Moorhead, Minnesota, we had put an ad in our student newspaper for the abortion service in New York, and the college impounded all the newspapers.
Wow.
So, yeah, I thought we're going backward, and I wanted to make a difference. And I was having lunch with a friend of mine who's an author, and she said, "Oh, Karen, you should write a book." And well, I said, the only thing I can get passionate about is atheism and women's rights and reproductive rights. So that's what inspired me.
Awesome. Yeah, that is exactly the kind of thing that got me into podcasting, actually. So good to hear it. I actually would love to hear a little bit from the book, if you don't mind. I'm really interested in reading this. I just was doing some research earlier and saw that it had an average of 4.6 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, which is excellent, by the way. So I'm definitely getting that on my Kindle as soon as possible. Can I get it on Kindle?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. I'd love to hear some excerpts if you would humor me.
I will. When I put this together, I did it, from passion. And I invited a lot of people I knew to write. Then I started to go to different humanist groups in Portland, Oregon, and got additional people. And then I reached out through social media. But it wasn't one of those things you say, oh, I need 10 of this, 2 of that, 1 of that, and really planned it in advance. Mm-hmm. And in spite of that, these are amazing women who tell their stories, and they're all different. Now, they are restricted to the Judeo-Christian religion. My next book is going to have go beyond that. But one was 18 when she wrote, one was 70 when she wrote, and they're all very, very different. The first essay is by Anne Wilcox, and this is a pseudonym. And several of my authors decided to use pseudonyms because their family didn't know, or in some of these religions that they came from, no one in their family could have anything to do with them if they knew they were an atheist. So they're kind of closet atheists. Yeah. And this first essay, I think one is the most moving. Anne was raised in a fundamentalist religion, and you will see how long lasting that indoctrination is when I read you this excerpt. As I tried to let my beliefs go, my head seemed far ahead of the rest of me. I would think, that makes no sense. But I would be assailed by intense fear and doubt. I felt all my old fears and belief still skulking inside, like the biblical Leviathan, a sea monster that lurked in the deep. I felt wrong, as though I had committed a terrible crime and I was going to be punished. Whenever I got near anything to do with my religion, a Christian coworker, a bumper sticker, a debate, or a speaker, something on the internet or the news, even or especially my own family, I went in a tailspin of dread and doubt for days. I kept thinking the fear would diminish, but it went on for months and months. My fear was so ingrained that as I wrestled with my beliefs, I had shadowy nightmares, and I felt like things were creeping up on me in the middle of the night. As I sat in my chair reading, there were times when I involuntarily glanced upward, as if lightning might crash through my ceiling. When I attacked my beliefs about Satan, it felt as if he was in my room with me. This was a complete surprise, not to mention freaky. After 30 years away from my religion, my mind was still being assaulted with irrational fear for disbelieving.
Wow. Ugh. It's terrifying. I mean, even after all that time, to be haunted by the time that you spent in religion, I can definitely relate. And I was not in a fundamentalist religion. I was a Lutheran, and they're pretty laid back. But like my husband actually was Pentecostal, and he used to have nightmares about the apocalypse, and it just terrifies me the way that those indoctrinations sort of tell your behavior even long after you're no longer involved with the church. It's scary.
Well, I don't know. As a Lutheran, you do what I do. Even after decades of leaving religion, I will lay my head down at night, and unbidden comes to me. Now I lay me down to sleep. Yeah. You do it for so long. But I wanted to tell you there's a good ending to that excerpt I read, because I don't want you to leave with how anguished she was. She emailed me shortly after the book came out and said that she was at the Oregon coast, and we have a beautiful coast, and she was sitting out on a rock, and she said she had this epiphany. She felt good about herself for the first time in her life.
Wow.
And she said writing the essay helped. So processing it through writing, telling her story, made her come to terms with it. And she felt good about herself, which was, given the excerpt I read, that was a transformation.
Yeah, that's great. I hope that outlets like your book and this podcast and just speaking with each other about these sorts of things will help everyone to process and get past those feelings of guilt and self-doubt, so that we can work toward better goals, like, trying to get the Hobby Lobby case overturned, for instance.
Exactly. And today, with the political climate, we don't need to go into that. I'm sure your listeners are well aware of it. we can see so clearly the role that religion plays and how pervasive it is in our culture and how it is being used to do things primarily against the other, whether it's refugees, whether it's immigrants, and even women.
Yeah.
There's executive orders in there that affect women. And I think that if women left the church, there would be no church. Sonia Johnson, who was a Mormon during the times of the Equal Right Amendment, she came out in favor of it. And she got excommunicated or disfellowshipped, whatever they want to call it, from the Mormon church. And she said, I look for the day when the pews are empty of women, because once the women leave, we'll be done. And so I think it's particularly important to reach women who are more subjugated by virtually every religion than men are. So we should be naturals. But one of the things we need when we learn is we need to see models. And I think of that little boy, African American, in the president's office seeing Obama and the impact that had on him. Well, this is the same. If we read these stories of women who have left religion, oh, well, they did it. Gee, my case isn't as bad as hers. I guess I can do it. So that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, was to give women models of other women who have left religion.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important that people tell their stories of deconversion and how they are handling things now after, however long being outside of the church. That's actually how I came to calling myself an atheist for the first time, was listening to deconversion stories on YouTube, especially, and, watching things like the Atheist Experience and all that. Mm-hmm. And it really helped to just have people spell it out for me the way that they were able to move past it. And these things really do help. And I argue very frequently with atheists who think that, no religious people could ever possibly change their mind. And I'm like, most of the atheists, are evidence of that. So why would you ever say that? There are tons of people changing their mind all the time. And we're here to help and support them and show them that it's okay.
Exactly.
So I really...
And most of the people, the women in this book, came from a religious background, but 3 of them didn't. They were raised in Europe. And it's interesting to intersperse their perspective of having been raised more secular and then come to the United States.
Oh, I bet. There's one person in our humanist group locally who was raised without religion, and being raised in the South with no religion still completely surprises me.
That's unusual.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear their perspective about other people's deconversion stories and stuff, because they just never had those experiences before.
You want me to do another excerpt?
Yeah, sure. We got plenty of time.
Okay. This is a woman who was raised in Latin America, and she's currently living in the United States. I proceeded with my confirmation, and a few weeks later, my cousin passed away. How could God do this? How could God take a wonderful, fun, free-spirited 15-year-old and make her go through a horribly painful journey toward death? How could he have not heard the prayers, seen the recovery masses, received the healing thoughts and the good vibes? Everyone said God had dropped an angel on this earth and was claiming her back as if it were a blessing. As ridiculous as it sounds now, it was what people spoke about every time her death came up in a conversation. In those few months, I went from believer to doubter to hater. The summer of 1998 was the last time I believed in the anthropomorphized concept of the Catholic God, the handsome, white, blonde, bearded man with a heart on fire in a white, red, and green ground could no longer shield me from reality. And I think this one points out, and I think as an atheist and as an atheist writer, I am more attuned to hearing people say things like on Facebook, pray for her, she's going into the hospital. Mm-hmm. And especially at death, God came to take her, she's going to a better place, etc. And it's interesting, the juxtaposition of okay, you're going to pray for her, but she's in the hospital. Why did you take her to the hospital? So there's an element of you that believes in science, or you wouldn't have taken her to the doctor in the first place. But you can't quite say it's all science. You've got something else going on there too. And when it doesn't work, then you just make an excuse.
Yeah. I was working in a very religious culture for a while down here in North Carolina, and my grandfather was in hospice at the time, and when he finally passed away, every person who spoke to me said something like, he's in a better place, it's all right, he's gone home now. And I'm like, no, he's gone, and he's never coming back, and that's it. And my grandfather, who was this like beacon of hope for maleness to my family and to my mother in particular, is gone. And it's awful. And it's, for me, better to just face that it's awful and to experience the awfulness so that I can eventually, lean back on the happy memories that I had with that person and remember them as they were at their best.
Well, and all of that time that we spend thinking about heaven or thinking about an afterlife, and all the money we put into these religious institutions, just think, if you took, this may be not accurate, but I thought the Bank of the Catholic Church in the Vatican was called the Bank of the Holy Spirit. I may be wrong. But if you took all the golden candelabras, everything associated with religion, we could house everybody in the world. We could feed everybody in the world.
Everyone could have health care.
What good could that do? Everyone could have health care. So, I will read this next excerpt about faith, which I think is timely in our discussion here, and about what a powerful tool it is. One of my authors writes, "Faith is a powerful motivational tool. Religion provides an explanation for the unknown and a justification for literally any atrocity, natural disaster, struggle, or hardship. It is incredibly effective in mass manipulation as well as in the rationalization of sacrifice, and accordingly becomes a powerful tool when exploited by individuals and institutions. Human beings want to have hope and want to believe that there is, for example, life after death. We yearn for concepts to provide a deeper meaning and structure to human life. Religion is an easy sell. In this context, its prevalence throughout history and across almost every culture is not difficult to understand. The wide range of religions and their varying associated rituals are constructs created by humans in order to perpetuate socio-political objectives."
Absolutely. I think about that so often. Especially living in the South. I mean, it's the culture here is so ingrained with religion that, I mean, even when I was giving blood once, one of the people was asking me, "So what church do you go to?" I'm like, "I don't, I'm an atheist." And she goes, "What, really? I've never met an atheist before." I'm like, "Yeah, you probably have. They just didn't want to say it because we live in North Carolina and people just don't want to go there." And she was really, really sweet about it, though. I was, actually having a really nice conversation and a sort of religious debate in a way, but saying there is hope without heaven or hell or whatever, because I don't have to worry that my loved ones who have died have gone to hell and are being tortured eternally. I don't have to worry about it. They're gone. It's okay. They're out of pain and they're gone. And it's okay. And for everybody who's still alive, every single minute that we're here, we can make this a better place for the people who come after us. And I think it's our charge being alive to do so, which is why I'm a humanist.
Exactly.
Yep. So I have one more question before we do wrap up this interview. I'd really like to know, from your perspective in the current political climate, what do you think is the next step for atheist women to get their voices out there and to be heard?
Well, and I think the first thing is to acknowledge who you are and acknowledge that you're an atheist. And you need to tell people, we cannot afford to be in the closet. And if you look at the gay rights movement, remember the words that we used to say, well, he's gay, but he's in the closet, meaning he wouldn't say he was gay to anyone. He didn't come out at work. He didn't do this. He didn't do that because he was afraid, and rightfully so. Mm-hmm. But look what happened when they started telling people.
Yeah.
And I remember when my brother, who since passed away, I introduced him when he moved out to Oregon 30 years ago to a friend of mine who was gay. And, it totally transformed his view of homosexuals because he never said anything negative again because he knew Craig. And if he said something against gays, he was saying something against Craig. It's exactly the same thing with atheism. We need to say, I'm an atheist. Yeah. I was helping at a warming shelter at one of the local church, and my goodness, I hadn't been in a church in 20 years. And one of the persons helping me in the warming center in the kitchen was the president of the church. And I said, oh, well, I'm an atheist and I'm an atheist writer. Now, we talked for 2 hours, but he didn't talk about atheism. We just, we talked about everything else. But I gave him the opportunity to ask me questions by saying I'm an atheist. I didn't push it. I didn't raise the issue again, but I gave him that opportunity to associate a face and a person who worked really hard in the kitchen
yeah.
To say, oh, that's an atheist. Well, Karen's an atheist. Yeah. And maybe later on we'll talk. Maybe he'll think about it and we'll talk about it. So the first thing is to do that. The second thing is if you have friends, particularly if you're a woman, tell them about podcasts. You can do that privately. You can do an ebook privately. Yeah. They can get my book. They don't need to tell anyone it's on their Kindle and they can read it. And there will be an audiobook coming out. It's not out yet.
Oh, so,
great. We need to encourage other people. Have you taken a look at this? Why don't you listen to this? Let me send you the link. Or have you thought about reading this book? Because that's the only way things are going to happen. And look at the difference between the 60s and gay rights and today when we have same-sex marriage. Yeah. So we need to follow that same path, but we have to speak out. Yeah, sometimes it's tough, and sometimes you're going against somebody else's belief. But if we don't do that, we're never going to get there.
Absolutely. And just to reinforce the idea, those who can speak out do speak out. But if you're putting yourself in danger or endangering your means of living, hang on. It'll get better.
It'll get better, and there'll be time
here to speak. We'll definitely speak for you anonymously if we need to. So we're here. Thank you so much for coming on today. I just want to give you a minute to let us know where we can find your book and where we can find you online, because you're all over the place.
Well, the name of the book, again, is Women Beyond Belief, Discovering Life Without Religion. And it is available online, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon. It's available in bookstores. Somebody actually told me they found it in the library in Canada.
Oh, sweet.
So I thought that was pretty amazing. And I have a blog. It is www.faithlessfeminist.com. And I just posted a blog yesterday by an ex-Muslim young woman who was brave enough to use her own name and tell her story. I'm also on Twitter at Karen_Garst. I also have a YouTube channel, which is just Google Faithless Feminist, and you'll find that. And I'm starting to do a book digest. And what it is, I have read so many books in the last 2 years, and to try to remember them and share that information, I'm doing these mini little slideshows with pictures and a concept, and then I'm talking about that concept. So each book, it may be 10 or 12 takeaways that you have, and I'll be slowly adding those to my YouTube channel. So if you think you might want to read a book but aren't sure about it,
you can spend 10, 15 minutes looking at that and then decide which book you want to do. So I would say by the end of the year, I'll have about 125 of those up.
Wow. That's great. That is a great resource for finding out more about books to read, because I get so many recommended to me and then I just go, I don't know if I want to read that right now. So yeah, thank you so much for being on the show. And I really appreciate you putting yourself and all of those women's stories out there.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and I'm working on book 2. I've recruited a number of authors such as Valerie Trico, Margaret Downey, Abby Hafer, who've already written books about atheism. And it's kind of going to be every reason that exists for leaving religion.
Great. That sounds awesome. Let me know as soon as it's out, because I will put a promo on the show and let our audience know when that's out.
It'll be a while, but I'll let you know for sure. Thank you so much for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Attention, citizens of Earth! It has come to my attention that you do not know what peril lies ahead for PSF, the imagination, truth, justice, and equality without your support.
What do you mean, omniscient narrator?
Quiet, human! The lives of such lovable characters as Princess Sparklefarts, Dr. Wu, the monthly visitor, and that weirdo who sells dildos depend entirely on the generous gifts from you, our patrons.
What's a patron?
Silence! A patron is a person who visited patreon.com/promoting secular feminism and donated their hard-earned cash to keep this show alive. They're the most important part of this world of ours, for we could not exist without them.
Wait, who are these wonderful humans?
Okay, look. I will explain that if you would just give me a moment for my dramatic pauses.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, we have some new rewards now that the show has relaunched, and puny humans like yourself might find them exciting and interesting.
Is it a puppy?
You have interrupted me for the last time, puny mortal. Now then. Patrons should note that we are now releasing weekly episodes, so they will be charged their pledged amount once a week. Those who give $1 per episode will receive bonus content such as extra sketches, extended or uncut interviews, and bloopers, which are hilarious coming from the PSF crew. $2 will get you everything in the $1 level, as well as sex and relationship advice from our very own Bella Constrictor.
Hey, that's me!
Die, human! I'm sure she can give advice from wherever this phaser took her. Now, giving $5 per episode will get you into the writer's room, where you will receive regularly published PSF erotica, short stories, poetry, and more exclusive written content. At $10, you will receive a one-time gift of a $5 gift certificate to Miss Andre's Bathhouse, along with the rewards from all the levels below this. $15 an episode will get you a one-time bonus gift from PSF, and after 3 months, a loyalty bonus gift, a 3-month subscription of beauty boxes from Miss Andrews Bathhouse. And I have to say, I loved my Galentine's Day Bathhouse box. Finally, the monthly visitor level. At $25 per episode, you will get all the benefits of the $10 levels and below, as well as a special surprise gift from PSF once a month.
What's in the box?
It's a surprise! Visit patreon.com/promoting secular feminism to become a patron today. And a special thanks to our newest patrons, Mary Crook and Revan. There's a special sparkle fart out there for you.
Welcome to the first ever Hisses and Kisses segment. I'm Bella Constrictor, and I'm so excited to bring this to promoting secular feminism. Thank you so much for bringing me on board, Miss B.
We're so excited to have you. So what exactly is Hisses and Kisses all about?
As we may have mentioned before, I'm a bit of a sex geek and a relationship advocate. I love researching anything to do with sex and relationships and the science behind those things and what that has to do with how we as human beings conduct ourselves. My goals for this segment would be to just bring that information to you guys, our listeners.
That sounds awesome. So what exactly can our listeners expect to learn about?
I have so many ideas. Book reviews. For instance, right now I have a Christian couples devotional that we're going to go through every once in a while. And interviews sometimes. And also some in-depth lessons, about whatever suits my fancy, I suppose. Each segment will start with a trivia question and will end with the answer to that trivia question.
Wow, that is a lot of stuff, and I can't wait to start learning.
And I can't wait to start advising. Of course, I want to point out that I'm self-taught and I don't have any accreditations or anything, so any advice that I give out on this podcast, I will always provide my sources, and I'll always encourage you, the listeners, to do your own research. Never make me your last stop. This is about learning and educating each other.
That's a very good point, Bella. I'm glad you said something. So what are you doing today?
I'm going to start with a review on that devotional that I found in a thrift store because I'm really interested in breaking down some of the toxic religious relationship advice that's given out. So are you guys ready to hear the first trivia question ever?
So this week's trivia question is, what were some of the first sex toys made out of? Stick around to the end of the segment to find out the answer to that question. And today we are starting segment 1 of our daily devotional book. This section's topic is love. Now, at the beginning of the segment, there are some quotes here. They do not love that do not show their love. William Shakespeare. We must grow in love, and in order to do this, we must go on loving and giving until it hurts. The way Jesus did. Do ordinary things with extraordinary love. Mother Teresa. Love has nothing to do with what you are expected to get, it's what you are expected to give. Anonymous. Not a bad start. I kind of like those quotes, except for the Mother Teresa one because she was a horrible person. But let's see if the chapters imitate that sentiment. So chapter 1, True Love. Alrighty. Few things on earth can compare to the initial love feeling. In parentheses, most of which are illegal. The feeling of romantic love is intoxicating. Now, I think it's funny that he makes this comparison to drugs, because meeting and connecting with a new person engages the brain in the same way a drug addiction does. One of my favorite relationship advocates, Reid Mihalko, likens that desire to be near a new person to a cocaine addiction. High levels of dopamine is to blame for those initial cravings you get for that special someone, especially early in the relationship. This is often referred to as new relationship energy, or NRE, and it should never be trusted. Do not make life-changing decisions about a person in this phase, because it is often mistaken for true love. New relationship energy is very rarely discussed, but is often observed as the honeymoon phase or puppy love. These early emotions are completely normal in a new relationship, but they do die down, and unfortunately, many people are not expecting that, so their relationships implode due to the loss of this feeling. I see this as a slippery slope in many religious circles because every relationship starts off with marriage as the goal. So when a couple is experiencing NRE, they will mistake that for love and get engaged, only to spend the first year or two of marriage attempting to gain back these feelings and assuming that there's something wrong with their relationship because they don't have that initial addiction anymore. As you may know, the divorce rate in Christian denominations is averaged at about 25%. On a whole, the divorce rate is at 40% right now, which is actually an all-time low. One must wonder if that has something to do with growing secularism and better relationship skills altogether. Alright, he moves on. I remember that initial connection with my wife Julie, and I thought nothing could be better. But you know what? I was dead wrong. Passionate love is just a taste of something better. It points to a higher love. God's love. That poor woman. Sure, her husband loves her, but in his eyes she is just a stepping stone to the real love of God. He goes on. It stands to reason that our need to love and be loved must first begin with Him. Now that may sound strange at first, especially for men. Ugh, good old homophobia on the second page. Don't want to hurt those fragile masculine emotions by suggesting that they should love another male figure. God essentially wants us to engage in a love affair with him. That longing we feel for love and connection can only be filled by God. No human can fill that void. All right, you heard him. Guess we should all just break up then. God's love is unconditional, stable, and permanent. See, I think this is the first clear sign of danger when it comes to trying to apply this dogma to human relationships. Love is not always unconditional. Being with another person and molding your lives together requires conditions and communication. Love is not always stable, especially if one or both of you suffers from mental illness. I mean, when you get right down to it, life isn't stable, and the best way to ride it out is to understand and address that. Love is definitely not permanent. This should be a given, especially once you accept the whole life isn't stable bit. Sex advice experts like Dan Savage often point out that a relationship can be successful even if it ends. If you can both look back on a relationship and say, yes, that was a great way to spend the last 2 weeks/15 years, then it wasn't a failure, and it also was not permanent. Perhaps this book may point these things out later, but right now, in this first section, it is training inexperienced couples to compare their human relationships with that of this perfect being who is supposedly doing all the work. So at the end of each chapter, since I got this book from a thrift store, it has lots of handwritten notes in it, all different handwriting, so I'm thinking that somebody used this during a group couples devotional session. Today, what our invisible friends learned from the chapter was we need to be able to accept God's love for us, and the greatest love is the love from God because he loved us first. Well, I hope you guys learned a little bit more about relationships from this first segment than these couples did from their first chapter. So yeah, let's get into answering our trivia question. At the top of the segment, we asked you what some of the first sex toys were made out of. So in the years 3000 BC, the Greeks used to call sex toys, and I'm going to butcher this one, olisbos, because that meant slip, while the Romans called them scorteum fascinium, or leather phallus. The most common materials used, as you probably have already guessed, was leather and or stone, and the toys were said to be made for women to use during times of war so that they would remain faithful to their husbands. And that about does it for Hisses and Kisses, the segment where we slither our way through some seriously sexy and slippery topics. Until next time, back to you, Miss B.
As you may know, we are exposed to ample amounts of negative news every day, whether real or fake. We also face a lot of negative facts each day, real or alternative. Thankfully, puppies exist. They are the eye/ear bleach we all need in these trying times. Bearing this in mind, PSF's current events segment will bring you 2 headlines from this week that are quote-unquote Trumps and one that's a quote-unquote puppy. So we can end what will surely end in gnashing of teeth on a positive note. So this week, our 2 Trumps are a question of hosts and press conference press bashing. And the puppy is a trash panda.
Yay! Okay, so our first Trump is a story coming out of the Washington Post that is about a lawmaker who wants to create a bill that requires a woman to have the father approve of an abortion. So there's a lovely quote from our representative Justin Humphrey of Oklahoma who came up with this that Miss B would like to read.
First, I'd also like to note that the bill's language says, quote, if the person identified as the father of the fetus challenges the fact that he is the father, such individual may demand that a paternity test be performed, unquote.
On the baby that is being carried by the woman who did not want to have the baby, just in the slight chance that he is in fact the father. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, so...
when can you perform paternity tests, just
That's
out of
a
curiosity?
good
Like,
question.
how early are those viable?
I don't know. So,
I'm going to look that up while you guys do that quote.
Okay, so this lovely quote that has been compared to Todd Aiken's legitimate rape, body shutting that whole thing down quote.
Female body has ways of shutting that kind of thing down.
Yeah. Our lovely Representative Justin Humphrey said, quote, I believe one of the breakdowns in our society is that we have excluded the man out of all of these types of decisions, he said. I understand that they feel like that is their body, he said of women. I feel like it is a separate, what I call them is you're a host. And you know, when you enter into a relationship, you're going to be that host because you can't be in a relationship without being that host. Women.
A relationship with the baby? Or a relationship with the
good question.
Father?
Let us continue.
Let us continue.
Yeah, sorry.
So, you know, when you enter into a relationship, you're going to be that host. And so, you know, if you pre-know that.
Pre-knowing is like pre-gaming for
pre-knowing
knowledge.
Is the best kind of knowing. If you pre-know that, then take all precautions and don't get pregnant.
Just don't fucking do it.
He mansplained. So that's where I'm at. I'm like, hey, your body is your body, he said, trying to be reasonable and be responsible with it. But after you're irresponsible, then don't claim, well, I can just go and do this with another body when you're the host and you invited that in.
That in. That's okay. That's my favorite part of that entire quote because I just want to make it very clear that inviting in a penis is not the same thing as inviting in a fetus.
Inviting in a penis is not inviting in a fetus. So that's a bumper sticker.
Yeah, that's the bumper sticker that we deserve.
Oh, we're gonna make patron levels who get gifts. That is definitely gonna be a gift at some point for sure. Yes. Okay, so I think my favorite part of this quote is so that's where I'm at. I'm like, hey, your body is your body. Like, who is this guy? Why does he sound like a
mansplained?
Teenager?
Somebody obviously told him to say that at some point. They're like, you need to be more laid back about this shit. You're way overstepping here. And he's like, nah, I mean, your body's your body.
It's
whatever.
Just not your body as long as I care what happens to it.
Except if you want to get abortion, then fuck you.
No body for you.
Well, no.
Get your own damn body. Representative Justin Humphrey, to you I say, get your own damn body.
So, of course, Planned Parenthood
oh my goodness,
responded to this. Laura McQuaid, president and CEO of Planned Parenthood Great Plains, called the bill, quote, an affront to women's autonomy and decision-making capacity, full stop. And a novelty Twitter account that is supposed to be Jill Biden, but is actually a novelty account called @JillBidenVeep, which is not actually Jill Biden, was criticizing the calling women hosts and posted how you can support Planned Parenthood in Justin Humphrey's name.
Yes.
And gave the address to post.
Doing. And the official Women's March Twitter also had something to say about that. They said, no, Representative Justin Humphrey, we are not quote unquote host. We are women and we cannot be contained. #why resist.
Yes.
So I would like to point out that there are two versions of a paternity test. There's an invasive and a non-invasive. The invasive one, which is basically only offered to women who are at risk of like chromosomal or genetic abnormalities, carries a tiny but significant chance of a miscarriage. And the non-invasive one is like they kind of analyze the DNA of the mother, I guess, or like I don't know, but whatever it is, it can only be done after the 10th week of gestation. So,
wow.
I don't know if that kind of seems like a big deal to me because abortions can be done before then, right?
Yeah. So how are you going to do a paternity test before then?
And it's actually better to do it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
that doesn't matter if there is a small % of chance that this man might be the father of a baby that he probably will not end up supporting, right?
It totally doesn't matter.
Then you need to carry the baby to term, just in case. And then it turns out that he's not the father, so now you're stuck with a baby you don't want, he doesn't want, and the baby's fucked, you're fucked, we're all fucked.
Because
You're
after
so
all,
mad.
all we are hosts.
I am but a, what are they called? The things that you like put little chicken eggs in to help them, an incubator.
An incubator.
I am but an incubator for the patriarchy.
And on that
wow,
note, let us move on to our second Trump.
Oh no.
Oh, yes.
Oh no.
All right. Trump number 2 is number 2.
He's actually, he prefers number 1, but go on.
Trump number 2 is called press conference press bashing. And recently, Donald Trump had a press conference, and my favorite quote from this is just, it's from the New Yorker, described it as, quote, "The president debased reporters while relying on them to air it on TV, the media equivalent of the 'why are you hitting yourself' bullying tactic." So Donald Trump said in the press conference, quote, "I'm here today to update the American people on the incredible progress that has been made in the last 4 weeks since my inauguration. We have made incredible progress. I don't think there's ever been a president elected who in this short period of time has done what we've done," unquote. Alec Baldwin could not have written that better.
Just
as
like
a President Trump SNL satire.
Let's
of
just
him.
list those accomplishments real quick. I just did. There are none.
Damn.
Ooh.
And done.
Okay, so the next part is where it really gets out of control.
He's right, though. I mean, like, no one's done as much damage as he has done in the last 4 weeks. Caused so much chaos. Sorry.
Like, the one thing that he got through was overturned by our judicial branch, though.
Yeah.
So he can't even get an executive order
Not exactly
right.
an accomplishment if it just gets overturned
That's like
immediately.
a major failure.
I mean, he let the Russians in. That's an accomplishment.
Hey.
Okay.
As Yoda would say, do or do not. There is no try. And all Trump is doing right now is trying and not doing.
Or do nodding.
Yeah, or do nodding, or doing terrible. Okay, so the next quote from this press conference that Bella Constrictor unfortunately watched while already nauseated is this, quote, "Unfortunately, much of the media in Washington, D.C., along with New York, Los Angeles in particular, speaks not for the people, but for the special interests and for those profiting off a very, very obviously broken system. The press has become so dishonest that if we don't talk about, we are doing a tremendous disservice to the American people." Tremendous disservice. Oh, God. We have to talk to find out what's going on because the press honestly is out of control. The level of dishonesty is out of control.
It sure as hell is, Donald.
Right? I know. It's like, wait, are we talking about you now?
Yeah. Who the fuck are
Donald,
we talking about?
why are you
right
hitting
now?
yourself?
So then there was this post going around on social media about,
oh no,
this. Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I mean, like, he sent it, apparently it was emailed to anyone who was on his email list for his campaign.
It's actually from action.donaldjtrump.com, and it's got like the Trump Pence thing on the top, and it says Mainstream Media Accountability Survey. So this was going out to his supporters, but now it's making the rounds on social media, and it's talking about questions like, do you believe that the mainstream media has reported unfairly on our movement? Yes, no, no opinion. And then it lists like individual news outlets, but it's only MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News. And then there's like,
now I made a D in Math 109,
local news.
but I know statistically speaking that this is a biased survey.
Yeah.
So it's actually really interesting that he only lists those news sources because he seems to really, really hate the New York Times.
The failing New York Times.
Yeah. And that one is so big in the SNL sketches too. And you'd think they would have it in there, but no.
Well, but also during if you watched the press conference, BBC stands up to ask him a question, and he's like, "Who are you?" And they're like, "BBC," and he's like, dismisses. He like lets him ask a question, but he's just like, "Oh well, let's see if you're gonna give a fair question." Oh, I bet he's not. Like he kept talking over him and wasn't letting him actually get his question out. I was like, "Oh my gosh,
No,
this is crazy." It was insane. It was not a fun. No, it wasn't okay. Not okay.
Oh gosh, I had another one that was really good that I was talking about earlier, and now I can't find it.
Was it number 24? Because, number 24 is my favorite.
Oh, read number 24 while I try to find this quote.
Okay, so the question number 24. Sometimes on some of the survey questions, there's like an other with like a space to write in what you want to write. And it asks, do you agree with President Trump's media strategy to cut through the media's noise and deliver our message straight to the people? Yes, no, no opinion, other. And in the other, because I filled out the survey myself, very drunkenly, in the other category, I wrote, no, 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 you fascist dictator, no.
That was really, really well put. Very eloquent.
I think I got my point across.
Yeah, so the quote was from the New Yorker article again. There was, it says, a few minutes later, Trump said, quote, "I want to find a friendly reporter." Jake Turks from an Orthodox Jewish publication called Ami asked how the government would deal with hate crimes against Jews. Jared Kushner, in the center of the front row, sat upright, his gelled hair gleaming in the lights. Quote, "Not a simple question, not a fair question," the president said. "Sit down."
What?
Yep.
Okay, so like 45 minutes in, my boyfriend turned the thing off, so I couldn't watch the end, and I missed all the good parts, I think.
Apparently, he also called Russia fake news. Like, Russia.
Just Russia itself.
Yeah.
All right, breaking news, Russia is fake.
Well, I think my favorite thing was when he said, what is it? The leaks are fake, but they're real or something. Or
now Russia is fake.
Yeah, the leaks are real. The leaks are absolutely real. The news, because so much of the news is fake.
Yeah.
So the leaks are happening, but if the news talks about them, then the leaks are fake, right? Is that what's going on?
Okay, yeah, I guess that's it. Yep.
Well,
that's
okay.
That's Trump.
It's time to move on to a puppy. I can't take any more of this.
Yes.
All right.
Puppy indeed.
Bring in the puppy, Bella.
Let's bring in the puppy. All right. It's time for the puppy.
Thank God.
Take us there, Bella.
So the puppy this week is this article about a raccoon riding a garbage truck. That is the only thing that makes sense in DC right now. This came from the Vice, and of course this is a visual, so we'll have to put this in the show notes, and we highly recommend that you go look at it. It's an image of a small raccoon that was climbing up the back of a ladder on a garbage truck when the garbage truck started to drive away, leaving the raccoon stranded to just hold on for dear life and go on an adventure.
Poor little guy.
But he handled it really well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
he's just standing there.
When you look at the picture, he's like, this is what my life has come to, but I'm not upset about it.
Yeah, this is my life now.
I live on this garbage truck.
I am a trash panda.
Trash panda, you are the hero that DC deserves.
Yes.
Yes. The article says, things in DC are pretty shitty right now. Our political system has become a hacky Tom Clancy novel. Congressmen are trying to make appeals for sanity by forcing Stranger Things references into their speeches. Oh God. Trump made Chris Christie force down a plate of meatloaf. Oh, I saw something about that. Like,
what the hell?
Yeah, apparently Chris Christie came out and said that Trump made him order meatloaf once. I don't know. But lo and behold, not all is so bad. Just feast your eyes on this one intrepid raccoon who hitched a ride on the back of a garbage truck in our nation's capital Friday morning.
And the picture was taken by Politico writer Helena Botmiller-Evich, who tweeted it out for everyone with the quote that said, "This raccoon is having a rough morning, just wanted some trash and ended up in Roslyn. And yes, I alerted the driver."
And I did follow this when it was on Twitter because I follow her on Twitter, and like, a few minutes later, she did tweet, like, yeah, the raccoon's okay. The driver pulled over. They took care of it. Like, they were all cool about it. So the raccoon is okay, and he is now our mascot for when things don't go the way that we think they're going.
Yep.
He's
Because
so cute.
Metaphorically speaking, haven't we all gotten stuck on a giant trash bin?
He's like America. We're all stuck in this dumpster fire of shit. And this is our life now for the next 4 years.
And we're just holding on to the ladder.
We're holding on for dear life.
And waiting for someone to
until
call
we can
the
bite
truck
the
driver.
shit out of the driver.
Godspeed, young beast. Your journey gives us all hope.
I feel like a standing ovation or Disney clap would be appropriate right now.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right. I think that's it for Two Trumps and a Puppy. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. We're not seeing anybody.
Okay. You will hear us next week.
You'll hear us
because you'll be listening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you will.
Because if we say see you, that's ableist.
Yeah. Okay, well,
and just wrong.
We'll be in contact.
Yeah. We'll talk to you.
Our people.
Bye, guys.
Has this ever happened to you?
Oh no, I've slipped and fallen into the darkest timeline. Now I'll never get medical coverage.
Or this?
I voted for Trump because I hate myself and my gender. But now that my decision's coming back to haunt me, I guess I sorta... What's the thing where you do a thing and then you wish you didn't done it? Regret. I regret it.
Or this.
You're not my president! I would never have voted for you! I mean, look at you with your orange skin and your crazy toupee comb-over!
New president got you down? The crypto-fascist regime got your face in a frown? Feel like you're powerless against this ass clown with a crown? Well, never fear. We've got the solution to your problems. We here at PSF have been working with top scienticians, philosophizers, and the best writers that free sex can buy to develop this newfangled, high-tech, modern resolution. Call your representatives.
Huh?
That's right. It is time to actively participate in the representational system.
But how?
The answer is simple. Just pick up a phone and call your representatives.
But what if I don't have a phone?
Find a phone and then call your representatives.
I don't want you grabbing my pussy, Donald Trump! All your executive orders are complete bullshit! I don't even know what else to say! I'm just so angry! I'm gonna march.
It can be scary, but so is the Third Reich. So calm your ass down and then call your representatives.
But what if I'm shy?
You know who else was shy? Anne Frank. But if she was here, she'd call her representatives. Call your representatives.
But what if I'm lazy?
Too bad. Suck it up, Buttercup, and call your representatives.
What if I don't know how?
We'll tell you how. Go online. Ask the search engine, who are my government representatives and how do I contact them? And through the magic of the inner tubes, the magical elf that lives inside your computer will conjure the answer up for you. Then, once you know how, call your representatives.
Then what do I say?
Whatever you want. If you want the rights over your own body, say so. If you want medical care at a reasonable price, say so. If you want immigrants to be treated as human beings, equal rights for everyone, regardless of color, sexuality, gender, fandom, or favorite Beatle, say so. If you'd rather the world not be ushered into a new age of darkness and a human-created apocalypse, then feel free to say that too. We're not your boss, but you are their boss, so call them up and let them know how you feel.
Okay, but what if I'd rather eat boiled peanuts and just watch reality TV?
Too fucking bad. Call your representatives.
Okay, so I called my representative. Now what?
Call your representatives.
Again?
Yes, again! Call them over and over again.
Can't I just send an email?
Hell no, that's not enough. You've got to call your representative.
What if I handwrite them a letter?
Sure! And when you're done fastening your corset, you can call your representative.
Will this really solve all our problems?
Of course not, but it's a start, and you've got to start somewhere.
Will this really work?
It's better than complaining on Facebook, or worse yet, doing nothing at all. Call your representatives.
But what if I'm put on a registry or a list somewhere? What if they send those black helicopters and then they tap my phone line?
Then I will see you in the re-education camps. Until then, call your representatives.
I've already forgotten. What am I supposed to do?
Stop with whatever you're doing. Put down the baby, the book, or the bong. Grab a phone and call your representatives.
This sounds like hard work. What do I get out of it?
A functioning democracy. Call your representatives now and get this complete Bill of Rights.
Is that a YouTube video, or do I gotta read something?
No, but call your representatives anyway.
What if I'd rather protest?
Protesting is great, but you know what else is great? Calling your representatives.
What if...
Call your representatives.
But
Call your representative.
But my spider monkey can't get his banana.
Call your representative. Call Your Representatives is brought to you by the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. Warning, your results may vary. Bill of Rights is already yours, but you've probably ignored it for so long it will seem new to you anyway. Offer good to citizens of the U.S. and other visitors who have access to phones and who can call the representatives. Representation will vary depending on where you live. This is all framed as a joke, but our democracy isn't a joke, and we're not joking. So call your representatives. Do it now. Stop this podcast and call them now. We will be here when you get back.
Thanks for listening to PSF, Promoting Secular Feminism. To find more episodes, you can check out our website at www.promotingsecularfeminism.com. Or if you want to get in touch, you can email us at promotingsecularfeminism@gmail.com. You can also find episodes on iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and rate and review us. We love 5-star reviews. I'm Miss B. Haven because well-behaved women rarely make history.